21st, 2024.
Now, the news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on this Thursday morning. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And boy, that rain was coming down a bit when I was coming in this morning.
Yeah, good soaking rain. And I would say in some cases, you know, we don't like having rain, but I think in this case it's been so dry that we will definitely enjoy having this. But the only thing is, along with that rain, there's also some eventual wintry mix and snow moving in. Let's take a look at the radar right now, because as you can see here, there's plenty of green in the map here as well. But notice we've got some blues. That's our first sign of, I would say, decent snowfall. But the issue is it's very warm, or at least I would say marginally warm above the surface at this point. And so even though the zone down here in the southern valleys, higher elevations, it looks like it's falling as snow, a lot of that is melting before it reaches the ground. But we'll keep a very close eye on those temperatures. As soon as we reach maybe 34, 33 degrees, that's when there is potential for those wet flakes to reach the ground. So, matter of fact, here's a look at those current conditions. It's rain for pretty much everywhere except as you head down south towards Binghamton, where snow showers are being reported. But take a look at these temperatures. We're still in the low 40s, mid 40s, upper 30s. So it's going to be a bit difficult to have that initial round of rain early today convert over to snow. But it's very damp out there. A live look in Utica right now. Rain is coming down pretty good. Temperature of 40 degrees. And over the next 12 hours, well, in the lower elevations, this will be a mainly rain event. But it's a different story as you head up closer to those higher elevations and those hilltops. So it's a tale of two different systems over the next 24 to 48 hours. We're going to talk a bit more about the potential changes in this forecast and how things are shaping up for the near term straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away. Well, 10 people are being helped.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Welcome back to Sunrise. The time now is 5:11, and for the first time in quite a while, there might be something that might impact your morning commute that isn't fog or frost. So let's take a look outside right now. First off, in Old Forge, it's heavy rain out there early today, so roads a little damp. Watch out for some ponding onto those surfaces. In downtown Utica, same story. Some heavy rain falling at this point, and temperatures still comfortably above freezing in the low 40s. Thirdly, Cooperstown, wet, temperature at 40 degrees, and finally Oneonta sitting at 37 degrees with still some active weather rolling through. And for now, as you take a look at our traffic tracker early this morning, there looks to be no major changes to the roadway traffic flow at this point, but we'll keep a close eye on this as the morning develops because, again, as you saw previously on the radar, there is some snow detected falling higher in the atmosphere, but it's melting before it reaches the ground. So we'll keep a close eye on when that cold layer erodes that warm air layer enough to produce snowfall on surfaces. But again, today, heading out the door, you're going to grab that umbrella, and your windshield wipers will probably be a good use today with plenty of widespread rain heading out to work. As we head throughout the day today and into tonight, there'll be some more cool air mixing in, enough to potentially see a wintry mix or even some snow, even in the lower elevations. We're going to, of course, talk about that in a lot more detail coming up in that full forecast. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Preparations are underway for the Mason.
The Cooperstown Camera is brought to you by Dodge Ford of Utica. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone. Active weather begins to move in today as it's been such a quiet fall, and of course, along with the potential for wintry mix and snow, bringing much needed rainfall to our area. Let's take a look at the latest winter weather alerts. Compared to yesterday afternoon, one more county has been included in the winter storm watch. That is Madison County. And notice here, it pretty much stops right along the border of Oneida and Herkimer counties. Now, this is not county specific, but just a reminder that the impacts from this system will be much greater in the higher elevations. Key note here that winter storm warnings have been issued for Delaware and down in Broome County. So a large drop off of impacts as you head into, say, the Mohawk Valley. And you can clearly see it right here. We got rainfall moving in for much of the area. The radar is picking up on snow, but I'm keeping a very close eye on area cameras and weather stations, and so far it looks like no snow is reaching the ground. But of course, if you do have a report of snow reaching the ground, please feel free to email us, weather@wktv.com. It's great to know conditions in locations we don't have complete information for. So again, a big thank you to those of you who send in temperatures and snowfall reports and all that stuff. It's very beneficial for forecasting. But as you can see here, this is a giant band of some heavy rain. And zooming out, this is part of a much larger system. And the key thing here is we've got two centers of low pressure, and this is what makes this system complicated. We got this strong low way out here, and it's transferring energy to this low down here along the coast. And that energy transfer is what makes snowfall forecasts like this difficult, because the timing of that transfer of energy, if that low doesn't strengthen all the way, and pretty soon we'll be seeing much different snowfall forecasts depending, again, on that transfer. But as you can see here, so far it looks to be shaping up as expected, and that rain band moving north. Eventually, this will begin to fill in with additional showers. Impacts, well, again, depends on elevation. Below 1,500 feet in the Mohawk Valley, your main travel impact today will be rain. Maybe some wraparound snow in the evening, but that's really about it. Higher elevations, a different story. Make sure you have your snow tires because there could be some wet snow, wintry mix, slushy conditions moving in. And this system, again, pushing its way north and east, and of course producing plenty of rain, even some snow here and there. So evolution here, rainfall and snowfall dependent on elevation. This continues during the overnight hours, maybe reaching lower elevations overnight into early tomorrow morning, and then following that, just some lingering spotty rain and snow showers over the next few days. But the main thing here, though, is our snowfall forecast has not changed all too much. Trace 2 inches in the valley, 2 to 5 areas north and south, and isolated locations in the hilltops could see even more. So your 7-day forecast, this is a sign of a change in the weather pattern. 40s and 30s for much of the next 5 to 7 days, with chances for rain and snow here and there. Gary?
Eric, thank you. The mother convicted of murdering her 2 young children back in 1994 by rolling her.
Now, the news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And you were mentioning earlier that the rain that we're seeing out there is much needed.
Yes, much needed rainfall. We're roughly around 4 inches behind average for since September 1st. So it's been such a dry fall, and I think I mean, of course, with the wildfires taking place, much needed rain for that as well. But let's look at the radar right now, because, yes, we got a good, cold, soaking rain for a lot of our area. And notice on this radar as well, there's some blue popping up. There are some snow showers being reported up in the atmosphere. And the thing is, though, we've got temperatures well above freezing near the surface in pretty much all of central New York. So it's getting a bit difficult for that snow up in the air to reach the ground before melting. But that's what we're going to be keeping a close eye on. This is what makes this forecast extremely difficult. You have to have a high enough snowfall rate to overcome that warm air and allow that melting of the snow to cause evaporative cooling and eventually cool the air enough to have that snow reach the ground. So a lot of different meteorological practices going on right now, which is why, again, this forecast is a bit tricky. But let's take a look at what's going on currently. Rain showers in Rome, rain in Hamilton, some reports of a wintry mix in some highest elevations in the southern valleys, but that's really about it, with snowfall being reported in Binghamton. Temperatures zooming in 30s and 40s, so it's going to take a little bit for those temperatures to fall throughout the day. And as you can see here, same story, 30s for much of the region. Here we are with that heavy rain falling in downtown Utica right now, so watch out for ponding on roadways. And as you can see here, throughout the morning and afternoon, we're going to see a good amount of rain showers for much of the lower elevations. And again, we're going to keep a close eye on that transfer from rain to eventual snow in the higher elevations. We'll talk about that in a lot more detail coming up in that full forecast. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget that Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away. Vice President-elect
Storm Tracker 2 team, where we track storms. The Cooperstown Camera is brought to you by Don's Ford of Utica.
Welcome back to Sunrise on this Thursday morning. Today starting out a little bit on the busy side with rain, even some snow starting to work its way into the higher elevations. But let's take a recap to yesterday's vibrant sunrise. It wasn't a long-lasting one, maybe a few minutes if that, but it was enough to produce this colorful scene over much of Utica. An amazing photo right here taken from the 9th floor of the Wynn Hospital, looking out to the east. And I took a few pictures from our cameras that we use here in the newsroom, but we definitely got lots of nicer pictures from all of you, especially this one right here. So thank you to whoever submitted this. If you want to receive credit, be sure to make your name heard on the as we post this to our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that. Of course, you can send a photo like this one right there to the top of your screen, WKTV.com/weather/pics. Now, normally in the morning we talk about temperatures as in how it might feel heading out the door in the morning, but today it's a different meaning looking at these temperatures because we are marginally above freezing in some higher elevations, and that's the key to whether we'll see rain or even a wintry mix, sleety snow or wet, heavy snow. And so for now, the Mohawk Valley is comfortably above freezing at this point. No snow is expected, but again, those hilltops, higher elevations, snow is starting to work its way in. Of course, we have more details on that coming up in that full forecast. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Well, with snow on its way for most of us sometime soon, the DMV is reminding snowmobilers to register their sleds. You can renew registrations in person at the DMV, online, or by mail. If you do so online, you can print a temporary certificate before you get your permanent sticker in the mail. New York State has more than 10,000 miles of snowmobile trails. A scam alert that could be in your
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Well, we mentioned earlier that we'd be keeping a close eye on whether snow eventually work its way in, and well, here we are. Snow in East Visalia reported by Ava. Here's a view of it right now, and on top of that, we also have other reports coming in from New Lisbon and in Richfield Springs, where snow is mixing in. Now, in some spots, the snow isn't collecting on the ground where it's too warm, but as you can see here in East Visalia and Chenango County, the snow is actually reaching the ground at this point. So thank you to Eva for sending in that report right there. Radar right now is looking pretty active. Again, rain showers in lower elevations. Snow starting to work its way in, heading up to the hilltops in the southern valleys. The pattern of the system here, you notice the back end of this front is going to continue to move eastward, and then more of that moisture will begin to fill in. As we zoom out in the radar and satellite, here we are with two separate systems. This is called a double barrel low, and in these types of setups, this low pressure here loses energy, and it transfers the energy to this low pressure right along the coast. Now, what does that mean regarding snowfall? Well, it means that it makes things a lot more complicated, which is, of course, not something we like to enjoy, but it also means that this system won't just push some rain showers through and that's that. This will continue to evolve. If this low stayed out to the west, this rain and snow would push through and then we'd dry out, maybe some lingering lake effect. But now this is going to cause wraparound rain throughout the day, even some wraparound snow showers that drags in some moisture in from the Atlantic. But what does this mean for all of you heading out to work today or anywhere on the roadways? Well, lower elevations, this is mainly a rainfall event, so this won't impact you too much. Maybe some wraparound snow and a wintry mix later on tonight. But it's a different story if you live above 1,500 feet to 1,800 feet, even above that. A wintry mix, wet snow early this morning, a lighter wintry mix and in some wet snow throughout the daytime today. And then overnight, we're going to keep a close eye on some snow bands, because if we get some of these heavier snowfall bands, they will overcome that warm air regardless of how warm it is near the surface and produce accumulation. That's what happened in April a few years ago, which we saw that heavy, dense snow cause lots of power outages in the southern valleys, even heading up north. And so on our Skycast today, this system evolves as rain and snow throughout the day. Notice that very thin layer of above freezing air right in the Mohawk Valley. During the overnight hours, that could erode and we could see some snow work its way in, but the brunt of this system comes to an end by the very earliest Friday, and then heading into the weekend, maybe a few spotty rain and snow showers here and there, but most of the system does pass. Regarding rainfall, this is bringing some beneficial rainfall to our area that will reduce dry conditions, but I think the most important thing everyone wants to know is that snowfall amount. Here we are. No changes compared to our initial forecast yesterday morning. Trace to 2 inches in the valley, 2 to 5 areas in the higher elevations, and again, hilltops could see significantly higher totals. I would say maybe 5 to 8 inches of wet snow along, again, those areas maybe 1,800 to 2,000 feet above sea level. So just a heads up regarding that rain and snow. Following today, well, the weather pattern favors unsettled conditions and cooler weather. We're saying goodbye to sunshine and completely dry weather, at least for the near term.
Our family here at Clinton.
Now, the news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on this Thursday morning. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And we have quite the rain gauge right here in the studio. When it comes down, you can hear it on that tin roof.
Yes, very loud early this morning. A good soaking cold rain across the board, helping out those dry conditions. But on top of the rain, we're also getting a fair share of some wintry mix, even some snow starting to move in. Matter of fact, let's take a look at the radar right now, because some reports are starting to come in of snow showers in the higher elevations. This is what we've been expecting this morning due to these rainfall rates and even snowfall rates way up in the atmosphere, cooling down the atmosphere enough to support that reaching the ground. The radar, as you can see here, lots of rain in the lower elevations, blue as you head south of Utica, as well as some spots up north to the Tug Hill region, as well as the southern parts of the Adirondacks. But notice here, as we take a look around the state now, Hamilton, which initially reported rain, is now reporting snow at 34 degrees. So the temperatures continue to drop due to what's called evaporative cooling. Basically, there's so much rain or so much snow falling way up in the atmosphere that is melting, and when it melts, it cools the air around it. When you have high enough snowfall rates, it actually erodes that warm layer near the surface. Now, temperatures across the region still in the 40s for much of the North Country, but cooling down quickly in the southern valleys. But here in downtown Utica, we're talking about a mainly rain event. Grab that umbrella heading out the door today, as most of you in the lower elevations will be dealing with mainly a rain event. But a different story heading up to the hilltops. You might want to make sure you're prepared for potential slick conditions with the wintry mix possible later on today. So next 12 hours, 30s for much of the region. And again, rainfall event for lower elevations, a wintry mix and wet snow as you head up to the hilltops north and south of the valley. We're going to break it all down coming up in that full forecast, how long this lasts, our latest thoughts on the snowfall amounts, and when the highest impact timings come to an end. Gary?
Eric, thank you. And don't forget the Storm Tracker 2 forecast, never more than 10 minutes away. Well, 10 people are
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Welcome back to Sunrise on this Thursday morning, and for the first time in probably several months, we'll be seeing a impact this morning to your morning commute that will not be fog or even frost. Matter of fact, we'll be talking about the potential for a wintry mix in wet snow. Before we get to that, though, Old Forge right now sitting at 41 degrees, so it's a warm start in parts of the North Country, a light to moderate rainfall, some spots a little heavier at times. Heavier rainfall, matter of fact, in downtown Utica right now, a temperature sitting at 38 degrees. It's fallen a couple of degrees in the past hour or so. Cooperstown, 37 degrees, still decently above freezing. Hilltops surrounding Cooperstown are starting to see some snow and a wintry mix begin to move in. And then finally, Oneonta sitting at 34 degrees. We're cutting it close here. Would not be shocked if a wintry mix is starting to fall down in the city here at this point. But again, we are keeping a close eye on the traffic tracker as well. Some spots here in the Southern Valley starting to pop up with more yellows, so some slower traffic earlier today. So heading out to work this morning, you might encounter, again, slower drives, but again, it's probably necessary in some of this travel early today. And so this morning, rain in the valleys, a wintry mix in the higher elevations. This evening, a better shot for a wintry mix in snow. We'll, of course, talk about the impacts with location-specific things in a lot more detail straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Preparations are underway for the Macy's Thanksgiving.
All your day, tune in for the Storm Tracker 2 Commutecast, brought to you by Munson. Visit Munson today and ignite curiosity and creativity. Visiting Munson and the Storm Tracker 2 Commutecast, both free and both Utica's very own. Remember, all roads lead to Munson.
This portion of News Channel 2 is brought to you by PJ Green.
The Cooperstown Camera is brought to you by Dodge Ford of Utica. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone. This Thursday, starting to see a change in the weather. It's been so dry over the past few months, even that. We're starting to see some rain, heavy rain, and even some snow move in. Radar right now, let's take a look at what's going on across the region. Rain in the Mohawk Valley, snow starting to work its way into the hilltops north and south of the Mohawk Valley. I think primarily south, where there's been at least more significant snowfall rates well above the ground, and that snow is falling fast enough to cool the atmosphere enough to support snow reaching the ground. So again, some reports of snow mixing in the southern valleys early today. This is part of a much larger complicated system right here. Let's take a zoom out right now, because not only do we have a broad area of low pressure right out here in the Great Lakes, this is actually transferring energy into a low along the Atlantic coast. And in meteorological terms, this is a very complicated setup to forecast. So far, it's panning out as expected, but Mother Nature always likes to have a few tricks up her sleeve. So we're going to remain vigilant, keep a close eye on how this system behaves. But for now, our thoughts are still the same. With a normal setup where that low is out to the west, this rain and snow will move through, and that's that. But this low out here along the coast is going to supply this system with more oceanic moisture, enough to keep rain and snow falling for much of the day today. And again, it's all elevation driven. We've got marginal temperature, so you can see why there's so many varying factors which make this system extremely complex to forecast. But let's talk about impacts for your location depending on elevation. Here we are with the lower elevations: Mohawk Valley, Herkimer, Ilion, Utica, Rome. Heavy rainfall initially, rain throughout the day, potentially wraparound snow in the late evening and overnight hours. A different story as you head up into the higher elevations north and south of the valley. We're talking about a wintry mix and wet snow initially, then a lighter wintry mix and wet snow throughout the day, followed by a potential for heavier snowfall bands. And I think these might set up either in Shenango, Otsego, Broome, Delaware counties. And those are where we could see those significantly higher snowfall rates. But to our Skycast quick, here we are with a system evolving throughout the day. Rain primarily in the lower elevations. By tonight, this is where we keep a close eye on those snowfall rates, because those temperatures will fall due to the sun setting. And again, potential for snow banding in areas to the south. But our thoughts still remain the same regarding rain and snow. As you can see here, a good soaking rain, beneficial rain for a lot of us. But if it turns over to snow, you can see here 2 to 5 inches of wet, dense snow in some higher elevations, trace 2 inches in the valley, and even hilltops could see even more. Elevation-driven storm today, and then some lingering spotty rain and snow over the next few days as that system departs out to sea. And still, we're looking at an unsettled pattern lingering through the middle of next week. Gary?
Eric, thank you. The mother convicted of murder.
Now, the news with Gary Lipitor and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Lipitor.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And you can't see much on that Cab V tower cam, can you?
Yeah, we got some decent rainfall starting to take place right now in the valley, and in the higher elevation, snow working its way. In some spots, it's accumulating. So here we are with some locations' first decent, wet, heavy snow of the year. And as a matter of fact, take a look at the radar right now and see where that is shaping up. And notice we've got several different colors here, or maybe just green, yellows, and then blues. But notice it's rain in the lower elevations, snow heading up to the hilltops. And zooming in here, notice Utica, Rome, Little Falls, German Flats, all seeing rain. But you zoom out to places in the hilltops, for example, near Hartwick, and other locations in, say, Skenevis, Maryland, you are seeing some snow starting to fall at this point. That all that snowfall way up in the atmosphere is eroding that warm layer near the surface. But the system is evolving. It's pushing its way more to the east, but in a normal system like this rain and snow would push out east and come to an end. But we'll explain why coming up in a few minutes, why that won't be the case. Now, around the state, snow is reported in Hamilton, rain in Syracuse, Rome, and Watertown, even including parts of the Hudson Valley. And it's a little warmer up in the Adirondacks, but cooler as you head down south. Temperatures pretty much in the 30s, near freezing for some of those spots across the board. But in downtown Utica, it's raining out, ponding on roadways, heads up, heading out the door this morning. It's a cold rain as well, temperature at 37 degrees. So heading out the door today, well, expect a pretty damp and dreary day with nonstop rain across the board in the Mohawk Valley and rain mixing in with a wintry mix of snow and sleet and all that sort in those higher elevations. We'll, of course, talk about the impacts regarding this system in a lot more detail coming up in a few minutes. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. Vice President-elect J.D.
Is brought to you by Holland Farms Bakery and Deli.
Brought to you by Dodds Ford of Utica.
Welcome back, everyone, on this Thursday morning. We are starting out by taking a look at our photo of the day, and this one is one that we saw yesterday of the vibrant sunrise overlooking parts of the area. Now, this wasn't a long-lasting vibrant sunrise, but thank you to the anonymous photographer here who sent in this photo. And it was a very, very bright one, and out in the eastern sky, taken from the 9th floor of the Wynn Hospital is where this photo originates from. Amazing photo right here. And if you would like to submit a photo like this one, send it to the link right there on the top of your screen, WKTV.com/weather/pics to have a chance to have your photo featured right here on News Channel 2 at sunrise, as well as News Channel 2 at noon. Well, we're talking about temperatures this morning, but in a different light. Normally we'll say, hey, you might need to grab that winter jacket, or maybe it's too warm out, maybe grab the lighter jacket, rain jacket possibly. But when it comes to wintry weather, rain and snow, this plays a key role in what type of precipitation you see. Earlville, Brookfield, some spots in those higher elevations already seeing accumulating snow on the ground. Other spots in the valley still looking to be a mainly rain event. Heading throughout the day, again, it's a tale of two different systems, a mainly rain event in the valley and even some snow and a wintry mix in the higher elevations. We'll talk about that, of course, in a lot more detail coming up in that full forecast. Gary?
Thanks. With snow on its way sometime soon for most areas, the DMV is reminding snowmobilers to register their sleds. You can renew registration in person at the DMV, online, or by mail. And if you do so online, you can print a temporary certificate before you get your permanent sticker in the mail. New York State has more than 10,000 miles of snowmobile trails. A scam alert that could be in your...
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone. We are continuing to track a wintry system rolling through our area. Rain in the valleys, but snow is working its way in to lower and lower elevations as we speak. Let's take a look at the New York Mesonet cameras right now to give you an idea of what's going on across central New York. These cameras have been slowly updating as new data just came in within the past few minutes. Notice right here, Brookfield, snow on the ground. In other spots here, just wet or damp surfaces. Snow falling in Redfield and Osceola. Old Forge still looking dry. And Lawrence looks to be maybe seeing a few flurries falling there as well. Radar and or at least live look at the radar right now. The valley, some green, you can see right here. Lower elevations still remaining above freezing. Other locations in the higher elevations looking at least rain or rain mixing in with snow or snow entirely. And you can see here this system is evolving as it slowly erodes that warm layer in the Mohawk Valley. Zooming out, this system is a part of two separate low pressure centers, and this is what makes this forecast very complicated. Here we are with a strong low out over the Great Lakes. This is going to weaken and shift its energy to this low pressure along the coast. So because of that, in a system where that low out to the west is the only low pressure center, this rain and snow pushes out to the north and east, and we're done with rain and snow. But this system out here along the coast is going to start forming, and it's going to wrap in some of that Atlantic moisture into our region, which will sustain this rain and snow for much of the daytime hours today. And that's the main concern with this system. Impacts, well, if you're in the lowest elevations, it's mainly a rain event today. Maybe some snow mixes in, but not too much regarding accumulation in the lowest elevations in the Mohawk Valley. A different story in the higher elevations. Today, a wintry mix wet snow possible, just a heads up. A light wintry mix and wet snow throughout the daytime hours today. And then potential for an isolated heavier snowfall band in locations in the southern valleys, especially Otsego, Shenango, Delaware, maybe Broome County are some of those zones that are most, or at least have the highest chance of seeing that snow band, which means heavier snowfall rates, and it's wet snow. So this could cause some clumping on power lines, maybe some power outages. But again, we're just taking it one step at a time with the system as this overall pretty complex thing continues to evolve. As you can see here, temperatures are marginally around 32 degrees, another trick in this forecast. But as you can see here, most of the valley remains above freezing for much of the day today, eventually falls below freezing a little bit during the late evening and overnight, enough for some maybe an inch or two of snow to accumulate on the ground. Then some lingering spotty rain and snow showers here and there heading into late Friday and Saturday. Decent amount of rainfall from the system, over 1.5 inches of rain for a lot of the region. And then on top of that as well, regarding snowfall, again, the Mohawk Valley, trace to 2 inches, 2 to 5 in areas north and south of heavy wet snow. And then on top of that, those hilltops could see more elevation driven, which is the key thing here. And so your 7-day forecast following today, we'll see unsettled conditions continue through the weekend and into the start of next week. But overall, this pattern shift brings in 40s and 30s for much of the next 7 days.
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, Central New York, right here on WKTV Plus. Throughout the day, we'll be keeping a close eye on this system that's slowly evolving, producing wintry weather to some parts of our area. Let's take a look at what happened earlier on the radar and satellite feed. As you can see here, rain initially for much of the area, but that cold air slowly was eroding that warm air trapped near the surface in the Mohawk Valley. And so we've got a variety of weather systems taking place right now. We've got rain, we've got snow, we've got sleet, we've got a wintry mix. And again, it's all elevation dependent. Now, this is a complicated system. Zooming out, we've got two centers of low pressure. We've got one out to the west and one to the southeast. Now, this one in the Great Lakes is the original low pressure center, and this one is transferring energy out to the one in the Atlantic. Now, what does that mean regarding this system? Well, there's two centers of energy, not just one. And on top of that, this one will strengthen and eventually bring in some rain showers, or at least moisture, from the Atlantic that will supply this system with more rain and even more snow. So normally what this system would do is pass through with some rain and snow, and that's it. But this one will sustain pretty much all day long. Well, Let's talk about impacts and impacts depending on your location. If you're in the Herkimer, Utica, Rome areas, Mohawk Valley, this is the graphic you want to pay attention to right here. Moderate to heavy rainfall in the morning, lighter rain, and even a lighter wintry mixing in here and there throughout the day. Maybe some wet snow as well, but none of that really will be sticking. Our best shot for snow accumulation will be tonight, as those temperatures will fall down into the 30s. But a different story for those of you heading up into those hilltop areas. A wintry mix and wet snow for much of the higher elevations to start today. A lighter wintry mix and wet snow throughout the daytime hours. And then we're keeping a close eye on tonight. There's potential for some heavier snowfall bands forming, and these would take place primarily in the southern valleys or south of Utica, say Broome County, Delaware County, Shenango, Otsego counties. Those areas are the highest chance of seeing these isolated snowfall bands. Now, what do we mean by snowfall bands? Well, there'll be isolated spots that could produce 2 inch per hour snowfall rates, and on top of that, wet, clumpy snow that could cause concern for power outages and tricky travel. But let's head to the Skycast right now, because today, as you can see here, an evolving situation depending on those temperatures. This afternoon, the valley warms up a little bit above freezing, so a mainly rain event for the lowest spots, and hilltops will struggle to get into the upper 30s, so I think there'll be a lot of a better shot for snow to gradually accumulate throughout the day in the higher elevations north and south of the Mohawk Valley. Following that, the brunt of the system, the highest strength of the system departs as we head into Friday and as we head into Saturday. So overall, the system will gradually begin to weaken. And so, as you take a look right here on our rainfall forecast at this point, it's looking to be, we're going to be seeing plenty of rain showers throughout the day today, enough to produce a good soaking rainfall, regardless whether it's falling as rain or snow. And on top of that, regarding snowfall, here we are with that snowfall forecast. Trace to 2 inches of snow for the valley, 2 to 5 in areas north and south. And again, hilltops could see higher totals, approaching maybe 5 to 8 inches of snow, and wet snow if that. Our confidence level has increased so far, but still, this is not a slam dunk forecast. So we'll keep you posted throughout the day as this system continues to evolve. But following today, well, things remain rather unsettled through the weekend into the start of next week, with chances for rain and snow showers here and there for the next 5 to 7 days.
Central New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, Central New York, right here on WKTV Plus. Throughout the day, we'll be keeping a close eye on this system that's slowly evolving, producing wintry weather to some parts of our area. Let's take a look at what happened earlier on the radar and satellite feed. As you can see here, rain initially for much of the area, but that cold air slowly was eroding that warm air trapped near the surface in the Mohawk Valley. And so we've got a variety of weather systems taking place right now. We've got rain, we've got snow, we've got sleet, we've got a wintry mix. And again, it's all elevation dependent. Now, this is a complicated system. Zooming out, we've got 2 centers of low pressure. We've got one out to the west and one to the southeast. Now, this one in the Great Lakes is the original low pressure center, and this one is transferring energy out to the one in the Atlantic. Now, what does that mean regarding this system? Well, there's 2 centers of energy, not just one. And on top of that, this one will strengthen and eventually bring in some rain showers, or at least moisture, from the Atlantic that will supply this system with more rain and even more snow. So normally what this system would do is pass through with some rain and snow, and that's it. But this one will sustain pretty much all day long. Well, Let's talk about impacts and impacts depending on your location. If you're in the Herkimer, Utica, Rome areas, Mohawk Valley, this is the graphic you want to pay attention to right here. Moderate to heavy rainfall in the morning, lighter rain, and even a lighter wintry mixing in here and there throughout the day. Maybe some wet snow as well, but none of that really will be sticking. Our best shot for snow accumulation will be tonight, as those temperatures will fall down into the 30s. But a different story for those of you heading up into those hilltop areas. A wintry mix and wet snow for much of the higher elevations to start today. A lighter wintry mix and wet snow throughout the daytime hours. And then we're keeping a close eye on tonight. There's potential for some heavier snowfall bands forming, and these would take place primarily in the southern valleys or south of Utica, say Broome County, Delaware County, Shenango, Otsego counties. Those areas are the highest chance of seeing these isolated snowfall bands. Now, what do we mean by snowfall bands? Well, there'll be isolated spots that could produce 2 inch per hour snowfall rates. And on top of that, wet, clumpy snow that could cause concern for power outages and tricky travel. But let's head to the Skycast right now, because today, as you can see here, an evolving situation depending on those temperatures. This afternoon, the valley warms up a little bit above freezing, so a mainly rain event for the lowest spots, and hilltops will struggle to get into the upper 30s, so I think there'll be a lot of a better shot for snow to gradually accumulate throughout the day in the higher elevations north and south of the Mohawk Valley. Following that, the brunt of the system, the highest strength of the system departs as we head into Friday and as we head into Saturday. So overall, the system will gradually begin to weaken. And so, as you take a look right here on our rainfall forecast at this point, it's looking to be, we're going to be seeing plenty of rain showers throughout the day today, enough to produce a good soaking rainfall, regardless of whether it's falling as rain or snow. And on top of that, regarding snowfall, here we are with that snowfall forecast. Trace to 2 inches of snow for the valley, 2 to 5 in areas north and south. And again, hilltops could see higher totals, approaching maybe 5 to 8 inches of snow, and wet snow if that. Our confidence level has increased so far, but still, this is not a slam dunk forecast. So we'll keep you posted throughout the day as this system continues to evolve. But following today, well, things remain rather unsettled through the weekend into the start of next week, with chances for rain and snow showers here and there for the next 5 to 7 days.
Furniture Legs can Central New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, Central New York. Right here on WKTV Plus throughout the day, we'll be keeping a close eye on this system that's slowly evolving, producing wintry weather to some parts of our area. Let's take a look at what happened earlier on the radar and satellite feed. As you can see here, rain initially for much of the area, but that cold air slowly was eroding that warm air trapped near the surface in the Mohawk Valley. And so we've got a variety of weather systems taking place right now. We've got rain, we've got snow, we've got sleet, we've got a wintry mix. And again, it's all elevation dependent. Now, this is a complicated system. Zooming out, we've got 2 centers of low pressure. We've got one out to the west and one to the southeast. Now, this one in the Great Lakes is the original low pressure center, and this one is transferring energy out to the one in the Atlantic. Now, what does that mean regarding this system? Well, there's 2 centers of energy, not just one. And on top of that, this one will strengthen and eventually bring in some rain showers, or at least moisture, from the Atlantic that will supply this system with more rain and even more snow. So normally what this system would do is pass through with some rain and snow, and that's it. But this one will sustain pretty much all day long. Well, Let's talk about impacts and impacts depending on your location. If you're in the Herkimer, Utica, Rome areas, Mohawk Valley, this is the graphic you want to pay attention to right here. Moderate to heavy rainfall in the morning, lighter rain, and even a lighter wintry mix mixing in here and there throughout the day. Maybe some wet snow as well, but none of that really will be sticking. Our best shot for snow accumulation will be tonight, as those temperatures will fall down into the 30s. But a different story for those of you heading up into those hilltop areas. A wintry mix and wet snow for much of the higher elevations to start today. A lighter wintry mix and wet snow throughout the daytime hours. And then we're keeping a close eye on tonight. There's potential for some heavier snowfall bands forming, and these would take place primarily in the southern valleys or south of Utica, say Broome County, Delaware County, Shenango, Otsego counties. Those areas are the highest chance of seeing these isolated snowfall bands. Now, what do we mean by snowfall bands? Well, there'll be isolated spots that could produce 2 inch per hour snowfall rates, and on top of that, wet, clumpy snow that could cause concern for power outages and tricky travel. But let's head to the Skycast right now, because today, as you can see here, an evolving situation depending on those temperatures. This afternoon, the valley warms up a little bit above freezing, so a mainly rain event for the lowest spots, and hilltops will struggle to get into the upper 30s, so I think there'll be a lot of a better shot for snow to gradually accumulate throughout the day in the higher elevations north and south of the Mohawk Valley. Following that, the brunt of the system, the highest strength of the system departs as we head into Friday and as we head into Saturday. So overall, the system will gradually begin to weaken. And so, as you take a look right here on our rainfall forecast at this point, it's looking to be, we're going to be seeing plenty of rain showers throughout the day today, enough to produce a good soaking rainfall, regardless whether it's falling as rain or snow. And on top of that, regarding snowfall, here we are with that snowfall forecast. Trace to 2 inches of snow for the valley, 2 to 5 in areas north and south. And again, hilltops could see higher totals, approaching maybe 5 to 8 inches of snow, and wet snow if that. Our confidence level has increased so far, but still, this is not a slam dunk forecast. So we'll keep you posted throughout the day as this system continues to evolve. But following today, well, things remain rather unsettled through the weekend into the start of next week, with chances for rain and snow showers here and there for the next 5 to 7 days.
Not enough light.
Meteorologist Eric Gage joining us. And Eric, some snowflakes actually flying in Utica this morning. I know we saw some up here, but some down on the bottom as well, right?
Yes, slowly but surely that warm air near the surface eroded and all that snow started to reach the ground. It wasn't a whole lot. Matter of fact, nothing really accumulated in the lower elevations, but some folks were actually able to see a light dusting in those hilltops. Let's take a look around central New York right now. You notice some locations having a light dusting of snow on the ground. Some of those spots, actually, the snow has continued to melt over the past, say, few hours or so. And you're probably wondering, all right, well, is the event over and done with? Well, not just yet. We're in the lull of the system at this point, and I'll show you why. So here we are, Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. Rain in the valleys, some flurries and snow falling in the higher elevations. But although we are seeing this dry slot here, there are two things going on right now. One, a surge of moisture in from the Atlantic, and this low pressure center here that's driving this system is now starting to strengthen. So instead of a system from the west, now we're going to start seeing this system from the east. And this will bring in, again, more moisture, supplying us with enough rain or enough moisture in the atmosphere to produce rain and even snow in the higher elevations. So for now, as you can see here, rain in Hamilton and cloudy skies in Rome. Temperatures have risen into the upper 30s at this point, which means that for now, the main weather event would be rain showers temporarily. But by tonight, those temperatures will begin to fall. We could see some snow mix in the lower elevations, but again, a heads up for those of you south that there could be some slippery roads. We'll talk about that, of course, in a lot more detail coming up in that full forecast. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Brand new this noon, Utica police say they now know.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here we are with our first wintry system of the year, our first official snowfall in Utica. We reported just a little over a trace amount of wet, clumpy snow at the recording center in Utica. So for now, we are now in the record books again as our first official snowfall of the year. But some of you have also seen your first snowfall a few weeks ago, but this is our first widespread event of the season, and first, I would say, more impactful event this season. Now, for a lot of you in the lower elevations, you saw your fair share of some snow falling, but the rain has moved back in again. We're above freezing. However, this will be a different story as we head into later on tonight regarding the southern valleys. And the reason why, as we take a look at the way this system is shaping up, we've been keeping a close eye behind the scenes here about the transfer of energy between these two low pressures here. Now, within the past hour or so, this coastal low has now strengthened, or at least has more strength now than the one inland. What does that mean? Well, it means that this will start behaving more like a coastal snowstorm. Now, of course, that sounds like we could be seeing massive impacts, but just coastal snowstorm at this time of year means that we're going to see a lot of moisture dragged in from the Atlantic, supplying us with plenty of upper air moisture, allowing the potential for rain and snow to fall over the next 12 to 18 hours. So impacts still not likely to change so far. Mainly rain event in the valley for today, wraparound snow possible tonight, maybe an inch or two of accumulation. But regarding those higher elevations above 1,500 feet, a different story. Watch out for slick roads tonight as some of that heavier snowfall will start to fall. And again, this is that wet, clumpy snow, the stuff that sticks on power lines and trees, and again, could cause maybe isolated power outages. So heads up for that. And the potential for an isolated heavy snow band as well later on tonight as well. Again, we'll keep a close eye on that as this system evolves. So here we are with what's going on right now. Some light snow south and north, some rain taking place in the valley. By this evening, here comes that surge of upper atmospheric moisture, allowing heavier snowfall to take place. And of course, a lot of this happens after sunset, which, aided by evaporative cooling plus the sun setting, allows that surface temperature to fall enough to produce the conditions required for wet snow to fall. So just a heads up for those of you, especially in the southern valleys south of Utica. And then following that, though, by Friday afternoon, still some lingering light snow here and there, maybe additional accumulation in some spots, but the most impactful of the system is over and done with. Still producing lots of rain, much needed beneficial rain for a lot of our area, but again, no changes to our snowfall forecast as of now. Still 2 to 5 south, trace to 2 inches in the Mohawk Valley, but again, this is that clumpy, wet snow that could cause slick roads and again could cause maybe some isolated power outages south. So again, we're keeping a close eye throughout this afternoon and this evening as the system continues to evolve. And of course, one of these events where, you know, it's not the most impactful winter event. We're used to it here in Central New York, but it's the first event for a lot of folks and might not be prepared for those slick roads just yet. So we're giving a heads up.
Yeah, a little late start for the first snowflakes.
Yeah, a little delayed.
Eric, thanks. Well, a gray fox from the Meredith Yeomans reporting. Meteorologist Eric Gage joining us now. And Eric, a lot of folks talking about that first snowfall of the season, even though it was only some flakes, right?
Yeah, it's just enough to produce some snow. Matter of fact, let's take this full screen right now. We can see the first snow falling in Utica. here we are. It was some wet snow, and it didn't really stick, as you mentioned, but it's the first snowfall of the year, and here we are in downtown Utica right now, where it's overcast and some damp roads still as well, and we'll still continue to see a lull in the rain and snow for the next few hours before activity begins to pick up again as we head into this evening and tonight. Now, temperatures fell a few degrees to near freezing. That's when that snow fell, but as the sun rose and the temperature started to climb, well, the snowfall, of course, came to an end as the dry slots moved in. Other locations around central New York that did see a trace amount of snowfall earlier today. Some of that snow has already melted, but again, this is not the end of the system. We're just in the middle of it, and the back end of this will start to roll through as we head into this evening and tonight. Radar, pretty busy going on, pretty busy situation. We got rainfall in the lower elevations, snow in the higher elevations, and although it's light for now, zooming out, this low pressure center out to the east is continuing to strengthen. It's tapping into that Atlantic moisture, and all this moisture is going to surge its way inland, and that's where we're going to see our most of our impact from this system as we head into tonight. So again, temperatures in the 30s right now. We're going to be cooling back down to near freezing again tonight, and of course the potential for a wintry mix, even some wet snow, especially in the higher elevations. We'll break that all down and talk about that in that full forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. A baby boy who was reportedly inside a vehicle.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our first snowfall of the season in Utica. Some of the locations waking up to a light dusting of wet, clumpy snow. But some of that snow has already melted again. Our temperatures have climbed back up above freezing. And overall, it's a pretty dreary day. Lots of low-lying clouds, some spritzy showers and flurries here and there. And the radar is pretty busy. We've got a few things going on right now. First off, the lower elevations, Mohawk Valley, a largely rain event as expected. This complicated system is behaving so far. Mother Nature is playing by the rules, but as you can see here, some snow in the higher elevations. And although most of the activity has tapered off temporarily, that's going to change as we head into tonight. Now, let's zoom out a little bit on the radar and satellite. We mentioned earlier on that we're keeping a close eye on this low pressure energy transfer. The initial system right here was out in the west. It's actually transferring its energy to this low pressure out along the Atlantic coast. With this low pressure down here, what this is going to do is it's going to drag in all that Atlantic moisture inland. This is the fuel that's needed, the atmospheric fuel needed for these rain and snow showers to fall. Without that, we'd only get dry air, maybe a few flurries. So cold air, oceanic moisture, all that combined with this low pressure center are the ingredients needed for this system to continue to evolve. No changes so far on our expectations for travel impact. Still in the Mohawk Valley today, rain is your primary impact until this evening after sunset. Then a wintry mix could possibly move in, maybe some wraparound snow. It's going to be cutting it close regarding those conditions as we head into tonight. A different story for those higher elevations, above 1,500 feet. This is where you could see a lighter wintry mix and wet snow throughout the day today, followed by potential for heavier snow bands tonight, especially those of you in Otsego, Shenango, Broome, Delaware counties. Those of you down in those valleys, you could see some heavier snowfall rates with wet, clumpy snow, slushy roads. Just a heads up that you might encounter that heading home tonight, or at least late tonight into the overnight hours. So with this system moving through, wet snow, clumping on trees, even slushy roads, the primary concern. And so how does this evolve on our Skycast? So here we are this afternoon. Most of that activity is tapered off. We're still rather unsettled across the region, but notice these darker blues move in. All that moisture surges in from the Atlantic, and then we're going to see, again, the Mohawk Valley initially almost entirely rain, eventually switching over to some wintry mix and wet snow during the overnight hours, while those of you in the higher elevations north and south could see that snow mix in. Beneficial rain from this event, which is the silver lining, but again, just a heads up, no changes to our snowfall forecast. Still trace of 2 in the valley, 2 to 5 areas south, but again, those hilltops could see more. This is an elevation-driven event, so maybe those hilltops south of the Mohawk Valley could see 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of wet, clumpy snow. Just a heads up as the system continues to roll through. But following today, that activity begins to taper off. Still a few lingering rain and snow showers here and there, but the brunt of this system, most of the energy departs out to the Atlantic, and we'll still see some chances for some rain and snow flurries here and there lingering into the weekend and continuing into the middle of next week. Gary?
Eric, thanks. We are back with News Talk.
Channel 2 Storm Tracker, tracking storms. Central New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Right here on WKTV Plus, we'll be talking about the latest trends with this wintry system. What can you expect tonight and when this system eventually comes to an end? So first off, here is a view of the radar and satellite earlier this afternoon of the system bringing in some moisture in from the south and from the east. Notice there's some rain and some snow. Again, largely elevation dependent. Now, earlier this morning, after some morning snow showers, the rain and snow tapered off for the most part. Now, that's a lull in the rain and snow from a dry slot to the south and west. Zooming out, the rain and snowfall activity will begin to pick up. Why is that? Well, we've got a system here, or at least two systems here. We got low pressure out to the Great Lakes. That's where this wintry weather originated from. However, it's actually transferring energy to this low along the Atlantic coast. Now, why is that important? Well, this low pressure down here is going to supply our area with plenty of upper level atmospheric moisture from the Atlantic, enough to supply us with enough to produce rain and snow consistently. And of course, that's a typical coastal storm we usually see in the wintertime. However, we're battling a lot of warm air near the surface. So because of that very thin warm air layer in the lower elevations, different impacts depending on how far up in elevation you are. Those of you in the Mohawk Valley, well, same story. No changes to our travel impacts. Early this morning, so far, this has panned out. Moderate heavy rain, a few snow showers rolled through. This afternoon and this evening, still same story, mainly rain event. As the sun begins to set, that's when we have potential for a wintry mix, even some wraparound snow in the lower elevations. But again, with all those wet surfaces, it might be very difficult for that snow to stick even on roadways. On top of that, we got a different story for those of you in the higher elevations. A lighter wintry mix and snow for those of you in this afternoon and this evening, and then potential for some heavier snowfall bands, primarily in the southern valleys later on tonight. And those snow bands could produce the most significant of the snow here in our area. So let's dive into it on our Skycast. Here we are with the rain and snow early this afternoon. This evening, that snowfall rate and rainfall rate pick up, and temperatures begin to fall right after sunset, of course. So with that in mind, that's when our best shot for accumulating snow will take place. Fresh supply of Atlantic moisture and cooler temperatures. Those of you in the southern valleys will likely see wet snow in some spots, even a wintry mix. But the main thing is slick roads, and this wet, clumpy snow has the potential of sticking on trees and power lines. And a main concern would be the risk for power outages. So we'll keep you posted on that as the system develops. But again, that's the main concern for areas south. There's still going to be some snow showers up north, but I do think the snowfall totals won't be nearly as intense because, as I mentioned previously, snow banding or some heavier snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour, if they do happen, will take place down here. Shenango, Otsego, Delaware, Broome counties, maybe southern Madison County. It's going to be isolated in nature. Then following tonight, by tomorrow afternoon, maybe a few lingering rain showers and flurries, but the impactful system will be largely behind us. So again, rainfall rates today and snowfall rates pretty consistent heading into this evening and tonight. Beneficial rain, which is helping put out a lot of those wildfires, especially down in southern New York. Much needed rain. But again, on top of that rain, we're getting snow and no changes to our snowfall forecast. Pretty consistent measurements expected here tonight and tomorrow. 2 to 5 inches in the higher elevations north and south. Trace to 2 inches in the Mohawk Valley, and even hilltops will see higher totals, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of wet, clumpy snow. Elevation driven, that's the key here. So you could head into the valley, maybe see trace, if any, snow, and then head up to the hilltops, and there is over half a foot of snow. So just a reminder that that's how the system will plan out. Following that, though, things will remain relatively unsettled heading to the weekend and to the start of next week.
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Right here on WKTV Plus, we'll be talking about the latest trends with this wintry system. What can you expect tonight and when this system eventually comes to an end? So first off, here is a view of the radar and satellite earlier this afternoon of the system bringing in some moisture in from the south and from the east. Notice there's some rain and some snow. Again, largely elevation dependent. Now, earlier this morning, after some morning snow showers, the rain and snow tapered off for the most part. Now, that's a lull in the rain and snow from a dry slot to the south and west. Zooming out, the rain and snowfall activity will begin to pick up. Why is that? Well, we've got a system here, or at least two systems here. We got low pressure out to the Great Lakes. That's where this wintry weather originated from. However, it's actually transferring energy to this low along the Atlantic coast. Now, why is that important? Well, this low pressure down here is going to supply our area with plenty of upper level atmospheric moisture from the Atlantic, enough to supply us with enough to produce rain and snow consistently. And of course, that's a typical coastal storm we usually see in the wintertime. However, we're battling a lot of warm air near the surface. So because of that very thin warm air layer in the lower elevations, different impacts depending on how far up in elevation you are. Those of you in the Mohawk Valley, well, same story. No changes to our travel impacts. Early this morning, so far, this has panned out. Moderate heavy rain, a few snow showers rolled through. This afternoon and this evening, still same story, mainly rain event. As the sun begins to set, that's when we have potential for a wintry mix, even some wraparound snow in the lower elevations. But again, with all those wet surfaces, it might be very difficult for that snow to stick even on roadways. On top of that, we got a different story for those of you in the higher elevations. A lighter wintry mix and snow for those of you in this afternoon and this evening, and then potential for some heavier snowfall bands, primarily in the southern valleys later on tonight. And those snow bands could produce the most significant of the snow here in our area. So let's dive into it on our Skycast. Here we are with the rain and snow early this afternoon. This evening, that snowfall rate and rainfall rate pick up, and temperatures begin to fall right after sunset, of course. So with that in mind, that's when our best shot for accumulating snow will take place. Fresh supply of Atlantic moisture and cooler temperatures. Those of you in the southern valleys will likely see wet snow in some spots, even a wintry mix. But the main thing is slick roads, and this wet, clumpy snow has the potential of sticking on trees and power lines. And a main concern would be the risk for power outages. So we'll keep you posted on that as the system develops. But again, that's the main concern for areas south. There's still going to be some snow showers up north, but I do think the snowfall totals won't be nearly as intense because, as I mentioned previously, snow banding or some heavier snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour, if they do happen, will take place down here. Shenango, Otsego, Delaware, Broome counties, maybe southern Madison County. It's going to be isolated in nature. Then following tonight, by tomorrow afternoon, maybe a few lingering rain showers and flurries, but the impactful system will be largely behind us. So again, rainfall rates today and snowfall rates pretty consistent heading into this evening and tonight. Beneficial rain, which is helping put out a lot of those wildfires, especially down in southern New York. Much needed rain. But again, on top of that rain, we're getting snow and no changes to our snowfall forecast. Pretty consistent measurements expected here tonight and tomorrow. 2 to 5 inches in the higher elevations north and south. Trace to 2 inches in the Mohawk Valley, and even hilltops will see higher totals, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of wet, clumpy snow. Elevation driven, that's the key here. So you could head into the valley, maybe see trace, if any, snow, and then head up to the hilltops, and there is over half a foot of snow. So just a reminder that that's how the system will plan out. Following that, though, things will remain relatively unsettled heading to the weekend and to the start of next week.
Come in right.
The news with Kristen Copeland and Jason Pallas.
Welcome to winter. Just like that, we are under a winter weather advisory.
And the biggest concern for snow will be tonight, but it's not everywhere. Meteorologist James DeFazio in for Bill here, tracking in the Weather Center everything that we need to know.
Yes, winter is here. As we can see, we already have some snowflakes showing up. It's going to be a snowy evening, and we're expecting accumulation for just about everyone. Old Forge is already seeing some snow stick to those cooler surfaces, especially on the mulch there. As we take a look at Oneonta, this is more of a wet snow-rain mix right now. We've been seeing some snowflakes fly by. Downtown Utica, though, still just wet conditions, and this is the area that we are expecting to take the longest to switch over to snow. But overall tonight, rain changes over to snow. Showers are going to linger into, if not through, Friday morning, and then scattered lighter showers are expected for this weekend. Taking a look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, you can see very, very colorful picture out there. We have plenty of rain, plenty of snow, lots of precipitation moving in from the south and east, and this is going to continue to be the case through the evening before things start to calm down tomorrow morning. Some of the around the state, some of the stations are reporting snowfall, and it just so happens those are going to be the areas we expect to receive the most snowfall. A lot warmer in the Mohawk Valley, 37 being reported at Rome. Light rain currently at Rome. Again, this will eventually change over, but all in all, we expect most of the accumulation to be south of the Mohawk Valley. Tonight, rain changing to snow, 34 degrees. Tomorrow, 38, a rain-snow mix still during the day, even though it won't be adding up to very much, but we'll have more on those exact amounts coming up in just a couple of minutes. Kristen, Jason?
All right, James, thank you. A difficult day in Herkimer County.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist James DeFazio.
Good evening. We are tracking wintry weather. If it has not changed to snow in your location, it shouldn't be too long before it begins to mix in. Let's take a look at some of the webcams across the area. Looking at Old Forge, you can start to see some areas of snowfall beginning to stick. But these are one of our higher elevation cameras, but you can see some white stuff beginning to stick to the ground there. If I go to Oneonta here, we've been seeing a mix of rain and snow, and as I go through the Mesonet cameras, it's pretty much more snow than rain being reported across the state. But in the lower elevations, downtown Utica, nothing but wet roadways for now and for the majority of the night. Current conditions in Rome, 37, still raining up in Rome, light rain, just a light breeze, 5 miles an hour out of the west-northwest, making it a little chilly. A variety of things being reported across the state. It is snowing in Hamilton at 32 degrees, snowing in Binghamton at 34 degrees. A much colder pocket of air is located here than in the Mohawk Valley and out to the west, and that is why we're seeing the difference in precipitation type. We do anticipate things to change to a little bit more wintry across for all of central New York, as we'll see in a map here in a second. Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, plenty of rain and snow mixing across the area. This is a look at the low pressure center that was bringing our rainfall this morning and last night. It has transferred its energy over here to a coastal storm, which is now throwing in all this moisture, which we are going to receive overnight and into tomorrow. We're expecting widespread snowfall for the area tonight, isolated showers, snow showers on Saturday, still some isolated snow showers on Sunday, and then a completely dry day on Monday. We finally get a cloudy but dry day to dry out. Looking at our snowfall map for tonight, a trace to 3 inches generally for everyone from the Mohawk Valley north 3 inches, we're thinking that the 1 to 3 inches is going to be more outside the Mohawk Valley. The Mohawk Valley, we are thinking, is going to be on the lower end of these totals, more of a trace to 2 versus 1 to 3. Down here in the lower elevations, 3 to 6 inches plus, and we're anticipating some areas to even peak above 6 inches. In the highest of elevations, we are going to see possibly 6 to 7, maybe even 8 inches of snow in the most prevalent snow bands. Taking a look at the SkyCast, you can see that big mix, that snow-rain mix. It slowly becomes more snow overnight, and it actually does pick up in terms of rate. This is 3 a.m. We are still above freezing at 33 degrees. That is what's going to make it so difficult to accumulate here in the Mohawk Valley. We will see some accumulation, but unfortunately, because it's just too warm, nothing crazy is going to happen. Friday afternoon, things begin to wind down. Showers settle into the lower half of our viewing area, in the southern portions of our viewing area, before things dry out Friday evening. By 11 p.m. Friday evening, we're just looking at cool, dry weather. Tonight, 34 degrees, rain changing to snow if it hasn't already done so yet. Tomorrow, a high in the 30s, rain and snow, 7-day forecast. We have plenty of unsettled weather with temperatures primarily in the 40s across the forecast there. No sunshine to be reported, sadly. Thanksgiving is out there now, 1 more week away, and we are actually looking at another low-pressure center coming our way possibly right around Thanksgiving. So
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, James.
I know. We're keeping an eye on that. But with all the travel expected for the weekend, I want
Exactly.
to at least preface that for everyone.
Sounds good, James.
James, thank you.
Houston, we have a problem. There's a
Weather Center and meteorologist James DeFazio.
Yes, it's here, unfortunately. Winter has made it. We're tracking a winter storm, and we're expecting everyone to see some level of accumulation tonight. Looking into Old Forge right now, it's starting to stick to the pavement even out there. You can see that vehicle driving by has a nice coating on it, so it's definitely beginning to switch over out there. Still in downtown Utica, nothing but wet roadways, and that is going to be the story for the majority of the evening, especially in that lowest of the elevations. Rain changes to snow overnight tonight if it hasn't already. Showers will linger well into Friday morning, if not through the entirety of the morning, and then scattered, much lighter showers are expected for this weekend. Taking a look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, it is plenty of colors on there. You can see some blues, some dark greens. We have some heavier rains. We have some moderate snow. We have some lighter snow. We anticipate this to slowly transition into more of a widespread snowfall over the next several hours. Temperatures should decrease just a few degrees around the state right now. Much warmer along the I-90 corridor to the south, where we expect the most snowfall to occur. Much cooler, 32 Hamilton, 34 Binghamton. Up 37 up in Rome with light rain. It's going to have to get a little bit colder for it to switch over there. We do anticipate a low of 34 degrees. Rain will change over to snow for all of us. Tomorrow, a rain-snow mix to start the day with a high of 38 degrees. We'll have details on just how much snow you can expect and when to expect it coming up shortly. Kristen, Jason?
All right, James, thank you. Hundreds of thousands of people are without power after a bomb cyclone hit the Northwest.
The severe conditions are expected to last for days. Chase Kane has more from Eureka, California.
At the moment in Northern California, things are calm. Calm waters, a little bit of light to moderate rain, but that is going to change as the day goes on because we are in a high risk for flooding here in Eureka and across much of Northern California. Days like this are especially dangerous because about 40% of all flood deaths happen on days like this when you have that high risk for flooding. We've already had a couple of days of light rain, so the ground is soaked, the rivers are starting to rise. By the time we get into later this afternoon and tonight, that's when there is a high wind watch. There is a flood watch in effect because we could potentially get 6, 10, maybe even 12 inches of rain on top of what this area has already gotten. And so you add in 30, 40, maybe even 50-mile-an-hour winds, and it's that combination that could bring down trees, bring down power lines, also trigger landslides and rock slides. One road in southern Humboldt County through Avenue of the Giants, that's already closed down because of flooding. They're expecting a lot more of that overnight tonight here in Northern California. So local officials are asking folks, hey, listen, do what you need to do today, get your groceries, get supplies, but try and get home and get in tonight before things really get bad, because by the time we're waking up Friday morning, they're expecting significant flooding and damage here across the region in Northern California. That's the latest here in Eureka. Back to you.
120 residents of the Pines.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist James DeFazio.
Good evening. We are tracking wintry weather across central New York, and things are only going to turn more wintry as we move forward into the night. Let's take a look right into what we're tracking. Take a look at Old Forge right now. It's already sticking to the ground up there, even on the roadways. We're seeing some snowfall stick. We're expecting this to be the name of the game for the higher elevations. This is going to begin before we start to see things in Utica. You can see a big juxtaposition between that and downtown Utica, where the roadways are nothing but just wet, with temperatures much higher above freezing. Eventually, everyone will see some snowfall. However, we expect mainly elevation-driven snowfall. Most of the snowfall is going to be south of Route 20, as you'll see in the map here in a moment. 37 degrees currently in Rome with light rain. No snow being reported at Rome just yet. Just a 5-mile-an-hour light breeze. Across the state, a big variance in conditions. A cold pocket of areas creating snowfall in Hamilton and in Binghamton. Still raining up in Rome, but we do expect this temperature to come down and for it to begin to snow at Rome at some point in the next few hours. But back towards the I-90 corridor, much warmer air, where we expect it to actually remain all rain north of Syracuse and west of Syracuse back towards Rochester, where temperatures are currently in the low 40s. The Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, a big mixed bag of snow and rain out there, and we expect that to continue through tonight. Energy has transferred from the low that was over here that brought us our rainfall last night to our coastal low, which has developed and is continuing to develop offshore, and it is bringing plenty of moisture in our direction. It will continue to swing in from the south and east. We're expecting widespread snowfall tonight, an isolated snow shower or two Saturday or Sunday, but it would be above freezing while it does so, and then a dry day on Monday. Things are going to calm down. Snowfall forecast for this evening. We're expecting a general trace to 3 inches for everyone from the Mohawk Valley to the north. The higher elevations are obviously going to be closer to the higher end of this range, the 2 to 3 inch range. If you're in the tug belt, the snow belt, 3 to 6 inches down in the lower hilltops of southern Oneida County, Shenango County, Madison County, Otsego County. Anywhere above 1,500 feet could well easily see over 6 inches of snow from this, and we really do expect roads to be very very difficult. It's not going to take much of this wet, heavy snow to create a big issue on the roadways. It's going to be that concrete, sticky snow. By 3 a.m., everyone's seeing snowfall. It is still above freezing in Utica, which will make it difficult to pile up, but it will a tad, just a little bit. By tomorrow morning, things are beginning to wind down. Showers linger south of the valley longer than anywhere else. By Friday evening, things calm down. We actually do clear out, and we have a relatively chilly evening. Tonight, 34 degrees for a low in Rome. Rain changes to snow overnight. We are expecting that widespread accumulation. Rain and snow for your morning tomorrow and through midday, a high of around 38 degrees. 7-day forecast, that widespread snowfall tonight, rain showers for the weekend, dry day on Monday, and then more unsettled weather as we head towards Thanksgiving.
With Jason Palace.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are seeing our first significant snowfall of the season. Many areas will see inches by the time you wake up tomorrow. Let's bring in meteorologist James DeFazio in for Bill tonight with a first look at the forecast. And James, up in the North Country, we see there's plenty of snow up in Old Forge already. A
big difference depending on your location, but everyone is going to see some level of wintry weather. So let's dive right into it, because there is some juxtapositions across the area. Up in the Old Forge area, where it's above 1,500 feet, you could see snow stuck to the concrete very easily, no issues at all. Right here in Cooperstown, 33 degrees, snow is falling, but not sticking to the roadways just yet. Downtown Utica, Wet snowflakes have just started to mix in. You can just barely see them there behind the street light. However, it is still just a wet rain and above freezing in downtown Utica. Tonight, rain changes to snow. Showers linger into Friday morning, and scattered lighter showers this weekend that will not be problematic like these by any sense of the matter. As you can see, plenty of moisture continuing to move in on our Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar from the south and east. This is going to continue throughout the night, and we will continue to see that green turn to more blue. Taking a look across the area right now, roadways are just starting to take a turn for the worse. We're seeing some slow travel being reported. There's also an accident that was just reported out in Syracuse. Across the state, primarily in the mid-30s in central New York, it's warmer to the west. Still raining in Rome at 36. No, just a light breeze, not really making much for a wind chill temperature. A rain-snow mix lingers into the morning tomorrow. We're expecting a high of around 38 degrees. Temperatures are going to be in the 30s for the majority of the day. We'll have details on how much snow to expect and your location coming up soon. Jason?
All right, thank you, buddy. A highly controversial pick.
Tracking snow tonight, but not all areas will get the same amount.
Yeah, it's going to start as rain. In fact, it already has. Meteorologist James DeFazio in for Bill tonight continues our coverage from the Weather Center.
Good evening. It is already snowing out there in the higher elevations, and that is where we expect the bulk of the snow to fall tonight. However, everyone will see a tad of snowfall. Let's take a look at the Old Forge camera right now. You can see it's already beginning to stick to the roadways. This is all fallen within the last hour, so it's adding up relatively quickly up there. But downtown Utica, much different, just wet roadways, and we expect this to be the story for the Mohawk Valley for the majority of the night. Things do change in the early morning hours, but nothing too crazy. South of the Mohawk Valley is going to see the majority of the impacts from this event. 37 degrees and cloudy skies up in Rome right now. Across the state, you can see there is a cold pocket of air to the south of the Mohawk Valley. It's snowing in Hamilton at 32 degrees, as well as at Binghamton in 34, and that's the area we really expect to receive the bulk of the snowfall this evening. Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, it's a mixed bag out there. You can see plenty areas of snow, plenty areas of rain. Some areas, most actually, are seeing a rain-snow mix. This is going to slowly transition into more of an entirely blue map as we all continue to see snowfall. The coastal storm has taken over and is now driving our weather, and it's going to continue to move into our area. We will be looking at tonight a changing to snow with a low right around 34 degrees. Tomorrow, 38 degrees for a high with rain and snow. We're going to have details on just how much snow to expect and where the worst road conditions are going to be coming up in the full forecast. Kristen, Jason?
All right, thank you, James. A difficult day in Herkimer County Court today as George.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist James DeFazio.
Good evening. We are tracking a wintry system which is currently bringing us a rain-snow mix to central New York, and we expect it to become more predominantly snow as the night progresses. So we're going to see some big changes across small distances, and we'll get into that in the snow map here. Taking a look at Old Forge, you can already see snow already sticking to the ground up above 1,500 feet, and we expect elevation to play a huge role in this snowfall. Anyone over 1,500 feet is basically going to be living in a different world than we are down here in the Mohawk Valley. Downtown Utica, you can see that big difference. We're just dealing with wet roadways right now and much warmer conditions. We do expect this to change overnight to a certain extent. However, it will not be anything significant. For the city of Utica, we are thinking a trace to 2 inches at most. Currently up in Rome, 37 degrees, cloudy skies, 5-mile-an-hour wind, and just a light breeze, not too much of a wind chill factor at all. There's a cold pocket of air that is going to settle in throughout the southern valleys south of the Mohawk Valley, and that is where we really anticipate the majority of the snow to fall this evening. Currently 32 in Hamilton, 34 in Binghamton. It's going to stay much warmer along the I-90 corridor, and that is the area that is going to see the least amount of snow. Taking a look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, a nice mixed bag out there, plenty of blue and green mix. It's a rain-snow mix for most. Think temperatures are slowly declining. Earlier today, we had a low pressure center out to the west. It has transferred its energy over to a coastal low over here, which is now throwing in precipitation from the southeast. That is going to continue through mid-morning tomorrow before things calm down. We're expecting widespread snow showers this evening, isolated snow showers on Saturday and Sunday. Nothing crazy, especially with temperatures above freezing, and then we dry out completely on Monday with just a cloudy day. Taking a look at that snow map, there's going to be a big sharp line in between where this map is drawn. Areas to the south are going to see much more snow than areas within the Thruway corridor. It's going to be a big change from one spot to the next. A small distance may make a large difference in terms of what you are looking at out your window. Elevation is going to matter, but at the same time, it's also going to be a close call in terms of how close you are to the Thruway. It's at Route 20 corridor south is going to be the peak of this event. Taking a look at the SkyCast, that depicts that relatively perfectly. You can see the colder temperatures to the south here. We're still above freezing at 3 a.m. at Rome and Utica. It's going to make accumulation difficult. We do expect a light accumulation, but it's going to make it more difficult than down here in the southern valleys, where we expect a little bit more colder air to hang on. By Friday afternoon, showers have wound down to just the southern valleys, and by Friday evening, we expect things to clear out and calm down to just a 30-degree evening. 34 for a low tonight, with rain changing to snow if it has not done so already in your location. Tomorrow, a rain-snow mix in the morning, maybe through mid-morning, a high of 38 degrees. Taking a look at the 7-day forecast. A showery weekend, but much lighter showers. Just a cloudy day expected on Sunday, and then much more unsettled weather as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, possibly even a wintry mix. We're going to be keeping a close eye on that, but we'll take it one step at a time with tonight's snowfall.
And we're all still getting used to this idea of winter.
Yes, which is a good reminder. This is a snowfall where it's not going to take much to make the roads slick. There's a lot of water in the snow, so even just a coating is enough to make a big difference tonight in terms of road conditions.
Good advice, Jim. Thanks.
Still to come on News Channel 2 at 6.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist James DeFazio.
Good evening. Tracking our first widespread wintry system across central New York. Take a look over at Old Forge right now. You can see up in the higher elevations, up above 1,500 feet, snow is already sticking to the pavements. As we look around, you can see things are a little bit different depending on where you are across our viewing area. In Cooperstown, still snow being reported. Snow is falling at 33 degrees, but not sticking to the pavement, only to the grassy surfaces. Down in downtown Utica, we're seeing a rain-snow mix. It's more rain than snow, but it is just completely wet roadways with no snow sticking to the grass. This will change as the night progresses. We expect things to get slightly colder as the night moves forward, and everyone will see at least a light accumulation of snow. Still in Rome, still warm, 36 degrees with a light rain being reported. No snow falling in Rome just yet. No wind chill factor being at play. Traffic flow right now, it's beginning to tick up. We had nothing really showing up until about 15-20 minutes ago or so. We're starting to see some slower traffic and some issues, not just primarily south of I-90, which is where we expect the bulk of the snow to fall tonight. Taking a look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, it is plastered with rain and snow. We have plenty of moisture being brought in from this coastal low that is down to our southeast. This low that brought us our rain last night over Lake Michigan has almost transferred all of its energy now over to this coastal low, which is just going to continue to throw moisture in our direction until mid-morning tomorrow. This is what we are thinking in terms of our snowfall forecast. We do at this time believe that these numbers are going to be towards the high end of our forecast. We're thinking 2 to 3 inches for the areas north of I-90, along the thruway corridor may be the exception, especially on the western portion of that thruway corridor. But to the south of Route 20, we are looking at 3 to 6 inches plus. Some areas may see 7, 8, 9 inches of snow in the locations that are already accumulating and already piling up. Taking a look at the skycast for tonight, temperatures are warm, which was preventing us from getting major accumulation. But down to the south, it's a little bit cooler, which is going to allow for that snow to pile up more so than it does in central and northern Oneida County. Friday, overall a pleasant day. By midday, most of the showers have moved south of the thruway, and as we move forward to the evening, things calm down very quickly. They quiet down. It's a chilly evening for Friday night football, but a calm one. Tomorrow, we're expecting a rain-snow mix through the morning hours with a high around 38 degrees. Temperatures are going to be in the 30s for the majority of the day. Taking a look at the 7-day forecast. Widespread snow tonight, rain, snow mix to start the day tomorrow before things do get warm enough to become all rain. Some more rain, snow mix showers early Sunday before we go to all rain. Just cloudy, but we dry out on Monday. And then weather turns more unsettled as we head towards Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thanksgiving on Thursday, we are tracking some snowfall for the night prior.
News with Jason Palace.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are seeing our first significant snowfall of the season. Many areas will see inches by the time you wake up tomorrow. Let's bring in meteorologist James DeFazio to get a first look at the forecast tonight. And, well, look at Old Forge. They got plenty of snow up there already.
Absolutely. It's a tale of where you're located tonight, but everybody is seeing wintry weather to some extent. Old Forge got the first brunt of it being at 1,500 feet. They got the plowable snow right off the bat. They're a lot chillier than some of the local, some more of the Utica, Rome area. Look at Cooperstown right now, 33 and snowing, but not sticking to the roadways. And then we get a little bit warmer than downtown Utica, where we're at between 35 and 36 degrees with just some wet snowflakes mixing in, but primarily just rain and wet roadways. Overnight, though, rain changes to snow for everyone. Showers linger into Friday morning, if not through Friday morning, and then scattered lighter showers develop this weekend, but nothing in the way and severity that we are dealing with tonight. Taking a look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, you can start to see more of that heavier precipitation beginning to work in from the southeast, and that is going to continue over the next several hours. We'll expect that green to continue to turn more blue. We're also dealing with some tricky travel out there, and this is only going to get worse throughout the night and into the early morning hours until the road crews can really get on top of it once the sun has risen. You can see that cold pocket of air over Binghamton and Hamilton. Otherwise, across the state, most areas are seeing a wet rain. Still 36 up in Rome at 36 with a light rain actually still being reported. Rain snow mix for your day tomorrow with a high of around 38 degrees. We'll have details on just how much snow to expect and the time frame for that coming up. Jason?
All right, thank you, sir. Highly controversial.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist James DeFazio.
Good evening. We are tracking our first widespread wintry storm of the year, and we are seeing variable conditions across central New York. Up in Old Forge, high elevation, 1,500 plus feet, they had plowable snow earlier tonight, and they should see a few more inches of accumulation. Even though they're not going to be in the peak, they still shall see a few more inches due to their temperature and elevation. Here in Cooperstown, same deal, higher elevation. We're also expecting it, and this is also the area that we're expecting to see a higher amount of snowfall. Snow is currently falling, but it's at 33 degrees, struggling to stick. Eventually it will. Downtown Utica, still just seeing plain rain. Couple of snowflakes, wet snowflakes mixing in, but we're just dealing with wet road conditions. That actually happens to also be the case up in Rome, where it's currently 36 and there's light rain being reported. Across the state, we have a big mixed bag. There's a big cold pocket of air in the southern valleys here, and we're seeing steady snow falling in Hamilton and Binghamton and the areas in between. But back to the west, in Syracuse and Rochester, where it's in the upper 30s, those areas are really going to struggle to see little, if any, snowfall at all. It is more likely than not that they see nothing but a wet rain snow mix. And that may be the case for most of the western Mohawk Valley. Most of the accumulation is going to be to the south of Utica, and it's going to be a very sharp cutoff. Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, you can see that big swath of heavy snow beginning to work in from the southeast. We had a low pressure system to the west today. It transferred its energy over to this coastal low, which has strengthened over the last few hours and will continue to throw moisture towards central New York throughout the evening and into the morning. Taking a look at the traffic flow right now, we're beginning to see some tricky travel start to show up, and it's not surprising that we're seeing it in the areas that are south of I-90. These are the areas that we expect to have the most issues in the morning. These are the areas in the snowfall map that you can see that are highlighted by the 3 to 6 inch totals. Trace to 3 north of the Mohawk Valley, closer trace to 2 along the I-90 corridor, more of 2 to 3 from Rome to the north. Down south of Route 20, 3 to 6 inches plus are possible. Going to be a very sharp cutoff, very sharp changes over short distances. Tonight we cool off. We don't cool off very much. We stay right around freezing, and that is what prevents the snow from piling up all that quickly. It is cooler to the south, which is why the snowfall will accumulate at the highest amount in these locations. Snow lingers in the southern valleys through the middle portions of the day on Friday. By Friday evening, clear skies, 31 degrees at 11 p.m. A chilly but clear and cool night for Friday Night Football. Tomorrow, 38 degrees for a high with rain and snow expected. We're 7-day forecast. We are looking at plenty of snowfall this evening, some plowable snow for almost all of us with the exceptions of the western Mohawk Valley. Rain, very light rain showers Saturday and Sunday before we dry out on Monday. We finally dry out on Monday with some just cloudy conditions.
All right, thank you, James. Coming up next, Lofty Vision, hefty time.